5. The basics of playing chords. Knowing chords is necessary for creating professional-sounding and hard-hitting music. To know chords to use them to your piano playing advances, you first need to understand what they are, the different types, and how they apply to play beautiful-sounding music. What is a chord? To understand what a chord is, you need to keep the terms of notes, intervals, and scales fresh in your mind. For a short refresher, here are the definitions. Notes are symbols that describe a musical sound. They represent the duration and pitch of the sound. They also represent a pitch class sometimes. Notes can be thought of as the building blocks from which all music is created. Intervals describe the distance between two notes. Generic intervals are measures on the staff. First or prime intervals are two notes that take up space on the same line or space on the staff. C to C is a great example of a prime. Accidentals are not relevant when it comes to measuring generic intervals because of only the note's position on the staff matter. As a result, C to C sharp is also an example of a prime. The interval type changes as notes are placed further apart on the staff. Remember that the notes remain on the same position on the staff, either both on space or both on a line. The first interval increase is called a second. C to D is an example of a second. The next increase is called a third. C to E is an example of a third. C to F is an example of a fourth. C to G is an example of a fifth. C to A is an example of a sixth. C to B is an example of a seventh. C to C is an example of an eighth. A scale is a set of musical notes that arranged according to their pitch. When the pitch increases, this is called an ascending scale. When the pitch is decreasing, this is called a descending scale. With these definitions under our belt, we can move on to what a chord is. A chord is a blend of two or more distinctive notes, commonly referred to as a scale, being played together. Chords that are based on one note are called root chords. For example, a C chord has a root note of C. Chords with two notes is called dyads because of the number and quality of the notes. Most chords are created with at least three notes. These are called triads. The quality of a chord, and thus the sound it makes, depends on the intervals between notes. The most common types of triad chords are major, minor, augmented, and diminished chords. Chords are not limited to three notes. There are chords that contain 4, 5, 6, and more notes, so do not be surprised if you hear the terms tetrad or tertian chords. There are chords known as broken chords. Just as the name suggests, the notes are not played at the same time and are instead broken up into a pattern of notes. Some of these notes may be repeated on the broken chord too. It is useful to know the term arpeggio. Arpeggio is defined at playing a broken chord in ascending order. While all arpeggios are broken chords, not all broken chords can be described as an arpeggio. Chord symbols are represented by the letters C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. The letter may be accompanied by accidentals like sharps and flats. The letters, whether or not they are accompanied by accidentals, represent the notes on the staff. Each letter represents a root. It is also called the tonic. It is the first note seen and lets you know what type of chord is being built. Why it is important for a pianist to understand chords. Chords are used to support a melody. As a pianist, you may play chords with your left hand to support the melody that your right hand is playing. As a result, chords impact the rhythm, tempo, articulation, and more, no matter what genre the pianist is playing. It is absolutely vital that a pianist has chord knowledge. Chord knowledge is the state of knowing which notes make up which chords, how each type of chord sounds, the name of each type of chord, and how all this information can be applied to make your piano playing better. This is the knowledge that can complete change and revolutionize the way you play because chords are the building blocks to any piece of music. To help you understand just how far-reaching the knowledge of chords is, here are a few benefits to making the commitment to know them better. It is enhancing your knowledge of musical theory. It is not enough to put your hands on a piano and begin to play. You need to know the fundamentals that back the actions that are encouraged by teachers and master pianists. Whether or not you are seeking a qualification in musical theory, It is a component that you need to study in order to advance as a piano player. The knowledge of chords helps you learn and speak the language of music. Thus, you are able to communicate your ideas with other pianists and musicians. Just as with any other form of communication, if the message is not being given or interpreted correctly, then communication has failed. It allows easy genre changes. Chords do not change no matter what genre you play. Think of it like building a house. You can be building a ranch house or a traditional colonial mansion. The material you use to build it, such as woods and bricks, are the same, even if the results of putting them together will be different. The same holds for chords. Different genres of music simply stack them differently to obtain different sounds. By knowing the chords, you can play any type of music and keep up with the tempo, articulation, expression, and more because you have the foundation that builds them all, which is chords. Sound knowledge of chords also allows you to transition when there is a change in musical components smoothly. These changes can pose quite challenges if your grasp of chords is shaky. It allows accompaniment to work smoothly. As a pianist, you are likely going to have the opportunity to play with singers, other pianists, and other instrumentalists. You may play in a play or a band. You may be part of a musical recital. The possibilities are truly endless. These opportunities mean that you are not playing solo, and as such, you need to make adjustments to be accompanied by other musicians. Good knowledge of chords allows you to communicate effectively with other musicians so that you not only avoid embarrassment, but also keep up with other professionals. It aids in learning arpeggios. Arpeggios have an interconnected relationship with musical chords. Knowledge of either one helps with building knowledge of the other. By constructing and deconstructing chords into its note components, you are better able to understand the form of arpeggios. The same goes for contrasting and deconstructing arpeggios. The history of chords. The earliest records of chords dates back several centuries. Medieval music, which was prevalent from 500 AD to 1400, has records of Christian hymns featuring organum. Organum is a plain chant, traditional ritual singing that was developed in the early centuries of Christianity. Melody that has at least one dimension added to enhance the harmony. The organum of that era featured chord progressions, also called a harmonic progression. A chord progression is defined as an ordered chain of chords. This helped place emphasis on the melody lines developed in this medieval era as well as in the Renaissance period, which ran from the 15th to 17th centuries. The major and minor scales became popular in the 17th and 18th centuries. These scales featured chord progressions as well, in particular circle progressions, which are a type of chord progression that is common in strong harmonic progressions. This time period was rich with accompaniments of melodies that featured chords. In the Renaissance period, the dominant seventh, a type of chord we will discuss later, was frequently used. Composers also started used diatonic chords at this time. The 19th century added more dimension to chords, as this was the time that Chromaticism became popular. Chromaticism is a technique used by composers that intersected primary diatonic chords and pitches with other pitches that are located on the chromatic scale. The use of secondary dominants, another type of chord, also became popular with composers. From then on, chord progressions continued to evolve. Many popular, contemporary, Western music uses the chromatic scale, and thus the popular types of chords we will be discussing next. Types of chords. There are 9 common chords that every pianist should know. Each type of chord has a particular sound. They include major chords. Major chords are the most important chord played in music and typically the first type of chord a pianist learns. They are created by adding intervals on the perfect fifth and major third position above the root, which is the note that starts the chord. The major thirds interval represents the distance between the root and the note that is 4 semitones above it. If the root is C, then the major third note above it E. The perfect fifth interval represents the distance between the root and the note that is 7 semitones above it. Again, if the root is C, then the perfect fifth note is G. These chords are typically represented by one capital letter with no other symbols attached and have a full, resolved sound to them. It is commonly referred to as a happy chord. The happy sound comes from the wider intervals that produce brighter sounds. This type of chord is a triad and is made up of 3 types of notes. The 3 notes are called a root, a major third, and a perfect fifth. The reason that most pianists start learning chords by playing major chords is that the easiest ones to learn, C, F, and G, comprise of playing white keys only. The other chords follow a 3-key black and white pattern. Below is a list of the major chords and the pattern they follow. C major has a pattern of C, E, and G. C sharp major has a pattern of C sharp, F, and G sharp. A major has a pattern of A, C sharp, and E. A sharp major has a pattern of A sharp, D, and F. A flat major has a pattern of A flat, C, and E flat. B major has a pattern of B, D sharp, and F sharp. D major has a pattern of D, F sharp, and A. D sharp major has a pattern of D sharp, G, and A sharp. D flat major has a pattern of D flat, F, and A flat. E major has a pattern of E, G sharp, and B. E flat major has a pattern of E flat, G, and B flat. F major has a pattern of F, A, and C. F sharp major has a pattern of F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp. G major has a pattern of G, B, and D. G sharp major has a pattern of G sharp, C, and D sharp. G flat major has a pattern of G flat, B flat, and D flat. Minor chords. Minor chords are created by adding intervals on the perfect fifth and minor third position above the root. The conditions of the perfect fifth interval remain the same as with major chords. The minor thirds interval represents the distance between the root and the note that is 3 semitones above the root. Minor chords sound sad, yet resolved. Despite the name, minor chords are no less important than major chords. The name simply describes the types of scales that they are built on. Just like the major chords, the minor chord is a triad made up of 3 notes that consists of a root note, a third interval, and a fifth interval. The minor chord is written as a lowercase m or abbreviated as min. You can create a minor chord in one of 2 ways. The first way includes playing a major chord and lowering the third interval or middle note by 1/2 step. As you saw above, the C major chord follows a pattern of C, E, G. To transform this into a C minor chord, lower the E to an E flat. The other way to create a minor chord is by playing the root note, then add the third and fifth notes on top of the minor scale. Here is a list of all the minor chords and the pattern they follow. C minor has a pattern of C, E flat, and G. C sharp minor has a pattern of C sharp, E, and G sharp. A minor has a pattern of A, C, and E. A sharp minor has a pattern of A sharp, C sharp, and E sharp. A flat minor has a pattern of A flat, B, and E flat. B minor has a pattern of B, D, and F sharp. B flat minor has a pattern of B flat, D flat, and F. D minor has a pattern of D, F, and A. D sharp minor has a pattern of D sharp, F sharp, and A sharp. D flat minor has a pattern of D flat, E, and A flat. E minor has a pattern of E, G, and B. E flat minor has a pattern of E flat, G flat, and B flat. F minor has a pattern of F, A flat, and C. F sharp minor has a pattern of F sharp, A, and C sharp. G minor has a pattern of G, B flat, and D. G sharp minor has a pattern of G sharp, B, and D sharp. G flat minor has a pattern of G flat, A, and D flat. Major seventh chord. This chord is represented by the symbols Maj 7 or M7. It is a chord that has 4 notes, which are root, a third, a fifth, and a sharp seventh. As you can see, the major 7th chord is a major chord with a sharp 7th note added. Here is a list of all the dominant 7th chords and the pattern they follow. C major 7th has a pattern of C, E, G, and B. C sharp major 7th has a pattern of C sharp, F, G sharp, and C. A major 7th has a pattern of A, C sharp, E, and G sharp. A flat major 7th has a pattern of A flat, C, E flat, and G. B major 7th has a pattern of B, D sharp, F sharp, and A sharp. B flat major 7th has a pattern of B flat, D, F, and A. D major 7th has a pattern of D, F sharp, A, and C sharp. E major 7th has a pattern of E, G sharp, B, and D sharp. E flat major 7th has a pattern of E flat, G, B flat, and D. F major 7th has a pattern of F, A, C, and E. F sharp major 7th has a pattern of F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and E sharp. G major 7th has a pattern of G, B, D, and F sharp. Minor 7th chord. Essentially, this chord is a minor chord with an added flat 7th note. It has 4 notes, which are the root, the flat third, the fifth, and the flat 7th on the scale. Here is a list of all the dominant 7th chords and the pattern they follow. C minor 7th has a pattern of C, E flat, G, and B flat. C sharp minor 7th has a pattern of C sharp, E, G sharp, and B. A minor 7th has a pattern of A, C, E, and G. A flat minor 7th has a pattern of A flat, B, E flat, and G flat. B minor 7th has a pattern of B, D, F sharp, and A. B flat minor 7th has a pattern of B flat, D flat, F, and A flat. D minor 7th has a pattern of D, F, A, and C. E minor 7th has a pattern of E, G, B, and D. E flat minor 7th has a pattern of E flat, G flat, B flat, and D flat. F minor 7th has a pattern of F, A flat, C, and E flat. F sharp minor 7th has a pattern of F sharp, A, C sharp, and E. G minor 7th has a pattern of G, B flat, D, and F. This chord is represented by the symbols -7 or -7. Dominant 7th chord. This is a commonly used chord. It has a dissonant and harsh sound. The most important function of this chord is resolving the tonic chord. This chord comprises a dominant triad and an added minor 7th note above the root. As such, this is a chord that consists of 4 notes. These 4 notes are a root, a third, a fifth, and flat 7th of the scale. Here is a list of all the dominant 7th chords and the pattern they follow. C dominant 7th has a pattern of C, E, G, and B flat. C sharp dominant 7th has a pattern of C sharp, F, G sharp, and B. A dominant 7th has a pattern of A, C sharp, E, and G. A flat dominant 7th has a pattern of A flat, C, E flat, and G flat. B dominant 7th has a pattern of B, D sharp, F sharp, and A. B flat dominant 7th, has a pattern of B flat, D, F, and A flat. D, dominant 7th, has a pattern of D, F sharp, A, and C. E, dominant 7th, has a pattern of E, G sharp, B, and D. E flat, dominant 7th, has a pattern of E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. F, dominant 7th, has a pattern of F, A, C, and E flat. F sharp, dominant 7th, has a pattern of F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and E. G, dominant 7th, has a pattern of G, B, D, and F. Suspended chords. Suspended chords were invented by Renaissance musicians in the 16th century. Suspended chords have become particularly important in jazz music. This chord helps build tension and then release it. Suspended chords are represented by the abbreviation sus. There are two types of suspended chords. They are sus2 and sus4. The difference in the two suspended chords lies in the scale degrees that are being held to give the chord its particular sound. Sus2 consists of a root, a second, and a perfect fifth on a scale. The second is the suspended note. Sus4 has a root, a fourth degree, and a fifth. The fourth is the suspended note. You may have noticed that these two notes are both missing a third. This means that these chords are neither a major nor a minor chord. This is the reason that they are called suspended chords. They are, in a sense, incomplete. Sus2 only resolves when the second degree goes to the third. Sus4 only resolves when the fourth degree goes down to the third as well. Suspended chords are popular because they are a good substitution for major chords due to the variety they add to a musical piece. Sus2 chords. C sus2 has a pattern of C, D, and G. C sharp sus2 has a pattern of C sharp, D sharp, and G sharp. A sus2 has a pattern of A, B, and E. A flat sus2 has a pattern of A flat, B flat, and E flat. B sus2 has a pattern of B, C sharp, and F sharp. B flat sus2 has a pattern of B flat, C, and F. D sus2 has a pattern of D, E, and A. E sus2 has a pattern of E, F sharp, and B. E flat sus2 has a pattern of E flat, F, and B flat. F sus2 has a pattern of F, G, and C. F sharp sus2 has a pattern of F sharp, G sharp, and C sharp. G sus2 has a pattern of G, A, and D. Sus4 chords. C sus4 has a pattern of C, F, and G. C sharp sus4 has a pattern of C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. A sus4 has a pattern of A, D, and E. A flat sus4 has a pattern of A flat, D flat, and E flat. B sus4 has a pattern of B, E, and F sharp. D sus4 has a pattern of D, G, and A. E sus4 has a pattern of E, A, and B. E flat sus4 has a pattern of E flat, A flat, and B flat. F sus4 has a pattern of F, B flat, and C. F sharp sus4 has a pattern of F sharp, B, and C sharp. G sus4 has a pattern of G, C, and D. Augmented chords. This chord is rarely used in music development and is one that sounds appropriate as the soundtrack of a sci-fi movie due to its unsettling and anxious sound. This chord is created just like simple major chords, but differs in the fact that there is an added rated fifth. The raised fifth has 8 semitones and is also referred to as a minor sixth. The augmented chord also has a major third with 4 semitones. Augmented chords are represented by the abbreviation aug or the symbol plus. This is a triad chord with a root, a third, and a sharp fifth of the scale. Here is a list of all the augmented chords and the pattern they follow. C augmented has a pattern of C, E, and G sharp. C sharp augmented has a pattern of C sharp, F, and A. A augmented has a pattern of A, C sharp, and F. A flat augmented has a pattern of A flat, C, and E. B augmented has a pattern of B, D sharp, and G. B flat augmented has a pattern of B flat, D, and F sharp. D augmented has a pattern of D, F sharp, and A sharp. E augmented has a pattern of E, G sharp, and C. E flat augmented has a pattern of E flat, G, and B. F augmented has a pattern of F, A, and C sharp. F sharp augmented has a pattern of F sharp, A sharp, and D. G augmented has a pattern of G, B, and D sharp. Diminished chords. Diminished chords are created by adding a triton, which is composed of 6 semitones, and a minor third, composed of 3 semitones, above the root. These types of chords have a tense sound to them. The diminished chord is represented either by the abbreviation dim or the sign degrees. This is also a triad chord consisting of a root, a flat third, and a flat fifth note. Here is a list of all the minor chords and the pattern they follow. C diminished has a pattern of C, E flat, and G flat. C sharp diminished has a pattern of C sharp, E, and G. A diminished has a pattern of A, C, and E flat. A flat diminished has a pattern of A flat, C flat, and D. B diminished has a pattern of B, D, and F. B flat diminished has a pattern of B flat, D flat, and E. D diminished has a pattern of D, F, and A flat. E diminished has a pattern of E, G, and B flat. E flat diminished has a pattern of E flat, G flat, and A. F diminished has a pattern of F, A flat, and B. F sharp diminished has a pattern of F sharp, A, and C. G diminished has a pattern of G, B flat, and D flat. C diminished denotes a diminished seventh chord on music sheets. As a result, it has 4 notes instead of 3. These 4 notes are a root, a flat third, a flat fifth, and double flat seventh. Here is a list of all the diminished seventh chords and the pattern they follow. C diminished seventh has a pattern of C, E flat, G flat, and A. C sharp diminished seventh has a pattern of C sharp, E, G, and B flat. A diminished seventh has a pattern of A, C, E flat, and G flat. A flat diminished seventh has a pattern of A flat, C flat, D, and F. B diminished seventh has a pattern of B, D, F, and A flat. B flat diminished seventh has a pattern of B flat, D flat, E, and G. D diminished seventh has a pattern of D, F, A flat, and B. E diminished seventh has a pattern of E, G, B flat, and D flat. E flat diminished seventh, E flat, G flat, A, and C. F diminished seventh has a pattern of F, A flat, B, and D. F sharp, diminished seventh, has a pattern of F sharp, A, C, and E flat. G diminished seventh has a pattern of G, B flat, D flat, and E. Extended chords. These chords can be described as triad chords with notes extended or added past the seventh. To create an extended chord, all you have to do is extend the chord formula of 7 chords. Therefore, major, minor, and dominant chords can be extended. There are other versions of extended chords with added 9th, 11th, and 13th extensions, but these are not as popularly used. Chord notation. There is more than one way to represent chords in musical pieces. The main systems include using plain staff notation, such as what is used in classical music. This includes the used if musical symbols like clefs on the lines and spaces of the staff. Using Roman numerals. The Roman numerals such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and other indicated the scale's degrees in the chord. They also indicated the root notes in that scale degree. For example, Roman numeral 2 indicates the second scale degree in addition to the root the chord is designed upon. When the Roman numbers are written in uppercase, I, double I, triple I, IV, V, they denote major chords. When they are written in lowercase, I, double I, triple I, IV, V, they indicated minor chords. Using macro analysis. This notation system is commonly used by music theorists and students who study advanced music. The notation system is represented using uppercase and lowercase letters and symbols to record chord quality. The letters indicated the roots. For example, C major looks like this: capital C, capital F, lowercase b degree symbol, lowercase e, lowercase a, lowercase d, uppercase G, uppercase C. Using figured bass. Figured bass is also called thorough bass. It is a type of musical notation that was commonly used between the centuries of 1600 and 1750 to indicate harmonies that are written in relation to the bass line. This method of chord notation is closely related to chord playing accompaniment instruments like the pipe organ and lute. This chord notation system uses numbers, symbols, and accidentals below the staff to denote the intervals above the bass line that should be played. The numbers represent the number of scale steps above the written notes to be played. For example, if there is a bass note of C and the numbers 4 and 6 are indicated, then the numbers 4 and 6 are the signal that the notes of the 4th and 6th positions above should be played. In this case, that would be F and A. If there are no numbers written below the bass note, then the assumption is that the 3rd and 5th above the bass note should be played. Using chord names and symbols. The chord notations that are used in many forms of popular contemporary music like rock, jazz, and pop. These notations include A. Uppercase letters to indicate the root note. An example of this is uppercase C. B. Abbreviations or symbols to indicate the quality of the chord. An example of this includes aug, to signify an augmented chord, or degree, to indicate a diminished chord. If there is no indication of chord quality, then the automatic assumption is that the chord is a major triad. C. A number of numbers to denote the interval above the root. D. A slash to indicate the bass note that should be played other than the root. The slash is accompanied by an uppercase letter to denote the bass note. Notes that have this symbol are called slash chords. An example of this is C/F. This indicated that this is a C major triad, which should be played with F added in the bass.